Lewis Hamilton is officially under investigation. The FIA has just launched a full-scale post-race probe after suspicious data emerged from his Ferrari in Abu Dhabi. From rear instability to brake inconsistencies, the telemetry doesn't lie, and now officials believe Ferrari may have breached multiple technical regulations during the race. If confirmed, this could wipe out Hamilton's result, damage Ferrari's standing, and completely disrupt their 2026 development plan just months before the regulation reset. Subscribe right now because this investigation could be the most damaging scandal Ferrari and Hamilton have faced together, and it's only getting started. Lewis Hamilton's weekend in Abu Dhabi was already underwhelming, but what's happening after the checkered flag may be far worse. The FIA has confirmed that Hamilton's SF-25 is the subject of a formal investigation following suspicious telemetry and technical findings after the race. This isn't just a routine check. The governing body launched a high-priority probe after discrepancies were discovered in the car's rear suspension dynamics, floor wear levels, and brake balance behavior, all of which raise serious compliance questions under the current technical regulations. The first and most immediate red flag came from the ride height sensors. During braking phases in sectors 1 and 3, Hamilton's car consistently dipped lower than expected, showing compression values that flirted with and occasionally dropped below the legal minimum. The FIA uses encrypted telemetry channels to track this in real time and match it against declared setup data. What raised eyebrows was that these variations did not appear in Charles Leclerc's car, suggesting a unique configuration or malfunction specific to Hamilton's machine. Further scrutiny revealed troubling signs on the floor plank where, specifically, on the rear left portion. The FIA's technical delegates noted an excessive abrasion pattern that exceeded permitted limits under Article 3.5.9 of the technical regulations. The plank is designed to measure how low the car is running during a race, and excessive where is a direct indication that the car might be illegally maximizing downforce by running lower than permitted. While Ferrari has blamed track-specific factors, the FIA suspects the team may have risked a borderline setup to counterbalance the car's ongoing instability issues. The investigation deepened once data from the brake-by-wire system was cross-referenced. Hamilton's brake pressure distribution changed dynamically during the race in a manner inconsistent with manual inputs. The FIA believes that either a software override or undeclared assist function was active, something that, if proven, would violate strict Article 11.6 rules around permitted driver aids. Brake mapping must be declared before the weekend begins and remain consistent unless formally updated and approved. Ferrari did not submit any such updates, which now puts them under significant suspicion. Compounding the problem is the energy deployment mapping from Hamilton's hybrid power unit. Unlike Leclerc, who used a more conservative release strategy, Hamilton's MGUK data shows aggressive early deployment in multiple zones, including corners where power delivery is tightly regulated. Engineers noticed inconsistencies between the throttle application and energy response, suggesting that the mapping used during the race may not match what was submitted pre-race. In a post-race context, this becomes a massive issue as it implies Ferrari may have run two different spec setups without full transparency. From the cockpit, Hamilton was clearly struggling. His radio communications paint a consistent picture of frustration, especially regarding rear-end unpredictability and corner exit behavior. In multiple exchanges, he questioned the balance, braking feel, and loss of control at the rear axle symptoms, which now appear to line up perfectly with the technical flags raised post-race. What's more concerning is Ferrari's lack of corrective response during the race. At no point did they publicly acknowledge a problem, nor did they report anomalies to the FIA as required. Finally, the FIA's technical team has requested a full telemetry, radio, and setup file dump from Ferrari. This includes encrypted data, simulation models, and internal notes from Hamilton's race engineer. The goal is clear: determine whether the irregularities were caused by a genuine mechanical failure or whether Ferrari knowingly ran an illegal configuration. Depending on what is found, the consequences could range from a fine to points deductions or even full disqualification from the event. For Hamilton, who finished 8th, the stakes may seem low, but for Ferrari, this is now a reputational crisis. At the heart of the FIA's process is the principle of absolute technical compliance, and that starts with Article 1.3.3 of the International Sporting Code. This rule clearly states that every car entered in a Formula One event must be in conformity with the technical regulations at all times during the competition. That includes practice, qualifying, the race itself, and all post-race procedures. It is the team's responsibility to ensure compliance, not the FIA's job to babysit. In other words, ignorance or oversight is not a defense, and that's a serious problem if any breach is confirmed on Hamilton's side of the garage. The ride height and plank were concerns fall directly under Article 3.5 and Appendix 5 of the technical regulations. These sections dictate the minimum allowable ground clearance and outline the mandatory use of the skid block or plank underneath the car. Excessive wear on that plank, particularly if it's localized to one corner or side of the car, is treated as direct evidence that the car was running too low and thus gaining a potential aerodynamic advantage. Disqualifications for this exact reason have happened before, with notable examples including Schumacher in 1994 and more recently disqualifications in Austin 2023. Then there's the issue of brake-by-wire system legality, governed by Article 11.6. In modern F1 cars, the rear brakes are no longer fully mechanical, they're electronically controlled. However, the FIA tightly restricts how this system can function. Brake balance must only be changed by the driver, and any assist systems such as auto-bias shifting or predictive torque modulation must be pre-approved. If Hamilton's car was running a system that altered rear braking behavior without manual input or outside approved parameters, it could be classified as an illegal driver aid. One of the most technically complex areas under review is the MGUK deployment. This falls under Article 5.2.2, which controls how hybrid energy is released to the wheels. Teams must submit energy maps before the weekend, showing how power will be distributed through the lap. These maps must be the same for both drivers unless an official update is logged. If Hamilton's car had a more aggressive or custom deployment strategy that wasn't formally declared, that would be considered an unauthorized setup, effectively breaking engine parity rules and risking penalties for both driver and team. The FIA is also examining Ferrari's failure to report mid-race issues, which would fall under Article 11.9 of the sporting regulations. This rule states that if a team detects a performance-affecting anomaly, whether mechanical, aerodynamic, or electronic, it must report it to race control if it impacts the safety or legality of the car. Hamilton clearly reported instability and braking inconsistencies during the race. Ferrari did not act publicly nor file any formal notice. The FIA will now assess whether that silence constituted a procedural violation. If evidence of wrongdoing or negligence is found, the range of penalties is wide. According to Appendix 2 of the Sporting Code, penalties can include monetary fines, time penalties, points deductions, or disqualification. If the irregularities are deemed to have provided Hamilton a significant competitive advantage, or if Ferrari is found to have misled or withheld information, disqualification becomes the likely outcome. Even if Hamilton's finishing position isn't championship critical, the precedent and reputation damage for Ferrari would be devastating. And finally, this isn't just about Abu Dhabi, it's about momentum heading into 2026. The FIA's technical directives are only going to become more complex with the next regulation overhaul. If Ferrari is already showing signs of compliance failure under the current code, it sends the wrong message to stakeholders, sponsors, and engineers alike. For a team trying to build a championship-winning platform around Lewis Hamilton, this is the worst possible headline at the worst possible time. Inside the Ferrari paddock, the mood has shifted from disappointment to damage control. While the team initially treated Abu Dhabi as a low-stakes race, the FIA's sudden probe has unleashed chaos across the technical department. Senior engineers have reportedly been pulled into closed-door meetings with compliance officers, and team principal Frederic Vasseur has been forced to escalate the situation directly to Maranello's legal division. The post-race debrief, which typically involves strategic discussions for the winter break, instead turned into an internal audit of everything that went wrong with Hamilton's car and who is responsible. Lewis Hamilton's demeanor after the race told its own story. Cameras captured him speaking in clipped tones, visibly frustrated, avoiding media questions about performance. His post-race interviews focused more on inconsistency in the car and less on the driving itself, a sign that he's losing patience with the technical support around him. Sources close to the team describe a growing disconnect between Hamilton's crew and Ferrari's central engineering group. While Charles Leclerc enjoyed a stable setup and decent race execution, Hamilton was left managing instability that now appears to be linked to the car's potential illegality. There's a deeper psychological toll brewing here. Hamilton joined Ferrari under the promise of a new legacy, a fresh challenge, and a team ready to fight for wins. But so far, that vision has failed to materialize. What he got in Abu Dhabi was not just a bad result, it was a technical crisis that exposes serious gaps in Ferrari's operational discipline. In a sport where every millimeter of legality counts, Hamilton is facing the realization that Ferrari may not yet be capable of delivering the precision required to support a championship-caliber campaign. Behind the scenes, tension is mounting between Hamilton's performance engineer teams, some of whom came over from Mercedes, and Ferrari's legacy engineering hierarchy. There are reports of disputes over setup direction, hybrid deployment strategies, and resistance to data sharing. If the FIA confirms that Hamilton's car breached regulations due to communication failures or blocked warnings, it will only reinforce the perception that Ferrari is still struggling with internal politics. For Hamilton, a driver known for demanding transparency and execution at the highest level, that's a red flag. The situation is even more complex when considering Ferrari's upcoming 2026 overhaul. The car being developed right now will form a foundation of that regulation era, and this latest scandal could influence how much say Hamilton gets in shaping that project. If the investigation reveals systemic flaws in how Ferrari integrates driver feedback or manages compliance, Hamilton's role could grow dramatically, or he may distance himself entirely, pushing for changes in leadership or structure within the technical department. This isn't just about Abu Dhabi anymore, it's about trust. Ferrari's leadership is now under pressure not just from the FIA, but from within. Shareholders and executive board members are reportedly seeking briefings on the investigation, and several longtime technical sponsors are demanding clarification. These aren't casual stakeholders, they invest in Ferrari's credibility as much as its speed. With the brand's global reputation tied to precision, the idea that their star driver could be disqualified for a technical misstep threatens the very image Ferrari works so hard to protect. For Lewis Hamilton, the bigger battle may no longer be on track. It's inside the walls of the Scuderia, a fight to secure control, influence design, and guarantee that his final years in Formula One aren't wasted in a team still haunted by operational dysfunction. The FIA investigation is simply the spark. What follows could determine whether Hamilton becomes the Ferrari legend he set out to be, or whether this partnership fractures under the weight of its own unfulfilled expectations.